Earth, the place where all of human history has come into existence. Today, what we have is one small step for mankind. The threat of climate change looms large. But this is not the only place we can call home. Mars is a magnificent place to explore. A place so close to Earth that we can actually reach it. For decades we have dreamed of going to Mars. And now, we are on the brink of getting there. I think if we can build a base on Mars, we will actually be starting a new life on Mars. To build a base on Mars, we need to revolutionize the way we use rockets. If we are to establish a settlement on Mars, we need to send as many people there as quickly as possible. We will have to learn how to live on a frozen desert planet, and we will need astronauts who are willing to risk everything. A one-way journey is what actually makes this possible. Can we make Mars our new home, or will the universe decide our fate? Science presents Mars is Ours. It is the most desirable vacant real estate in the solar system. Near Earth, where there is no shortage of water, and a day lasts 24 hours. People will definitely live here. The only question is when. This is the design of a revolutionary rocket that can get us there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Yes, stopping like this in midair is necessary. This is the first flight of the world's first reusable rocket. If it fails to land back at its launch site, the first human mission to Mars could be delayed for years. Asterisk to understand why. You need to understand the unparalleled objectives of the company that built it. SpaceX employs young engineers who understand technology. Their boss, Elon Musk, has already shaken the foundations of two giant companies with PayPal and Tesla Motors. And now his sights are set on space and Mars. SpaceX's goal is to improve the state of rocket engineering so that space transportation can be improved to the point where people can go to Mars and establish a self-sustaining civilization on Mars. Asterisk. Space is leading a new era of space exploration. We will work with all those growing private companies that are competing to make going to space easier and more affordable. SpaceX has already secured a contract from the US government to send supplies to the space station and has halved the prices of other rockets. But Elon and his engineers are thinking beyond that. They believe that reusable rockets will revolutionize human access to space. If aircraft were not reusable, we would have to buy a new plane for every journey, and flying would be incredibly expensive. I don't think a base on Mars can be established without solving the problem of rocket. REUSABILITY. Going to Mars is a difficult goal because it is very far away, 1,000 times farther than the moon. To get there, astronauts will need a huge amount of fuel and a large engine, an even bigger rocket than NASA's Saturn V rocket that took Apollo astronauts to the moon 4 decades ago. Mars is far away, so we will have to carry more equipment, and that increases the mass, and then you need an even bigger rocket to carry that mass to where you are going. Asterisk. NASA's goal is to lift weight 13 times heavier than Mars Curiosity rover. A manned Mars spacecraft will be as big as and NASA's design for a powerful rocket capable of carrying that weight is called the Space Launch System, or SLS. The SLS will be 384 feet tall, taller than the Statue of Liberty. It will provide 417,000 pounds of thrust, enough to launch a spacecraft weighing 140 tons. Asterisk. At Mississippi's Stennis Space Center, Gary Benton is testing one of its new engines, the J2X. I have always loved test days because on this day, we get the fruit of all our hard work. We spent several years preparing this facility and testing other components to reach the point where we are testing this engine. The SLS is a larger version of the system that launched the space shuttle. Its initial stage is actually the same. When the rocket lifts off the launch pad, its core stage engines burn and take the rocket about 100,000 feet up. But the SLS has a feature that shuttle launches don't have. It has a set of upper stage engines. And that's where the J2X comes in. Asterisk. The SLS is actually more powerful than the shuttle because it has an upper stage and can go beyond Earth's lower orbit, while the shuttle could only go to orbit. Since the Apollo missions, NASA has not sent humans beyond Earth's orbit. But the SLS and J2X can do that and much more. The J2 was used to burn the upper stage of those Apollo flights that went to the moon. And this J2X is a more powerful version of that engine. It restarts after reaching orbit, so it can carry more weight or crew to Mars. Asterisk. After months of efforts and preparations. If everything goes right today, this will be the final test of the J2X engine. I just hope it will be a very successful test, and I am eager to see what the engines do today. We are running it at a lower power level, or at this level, for as long as we have never run it before. This test will run for 125 seconds. The first challenge is that the engine has to work for the full 125 seconds. Asterisk. The J2X weighs 268 kilograms. But it produces 90,720 kilograms of thrust. After seeing and hearing it, it looks like everything went great. Today, NASA came one step closer to completing its SLS and a rocket that can send astronauts to Mars. Once complete, the SLS will be the largest and most powerful rocket on Earth, but it will be the most expensive. Asterisk, NASA is currently working on a heavy lift vehicle rocket called SLS, so they have built a rocket that they want to launch once every 5 years. And this will cost $5 billion. SpaceX is working differently. It is engaged in building such a heavy lift vehicle as quickly as possible with as much hard work as possible at the lowest cost and time. Heavy costs are the main reason why NASA has been talking about sending people to Mars for 30 years, but has not been able to send them yet. SpaceX's reusable rocket will dramatically reduce that cost and bring Mars within our reach. Asterisk. What actually happens is that there is a big rocket, and at its very top is a capsule that contains either people or some payload or satellite. Now actually, only one thing goes to space and is continuously used, and that is that capsule. Now you will think what happens to the rest of the rocket. So it just burns up in the atmosphere, and we are trying to change that. Instead of burning in the atmosphere, we want to reuse that entire rocket and fly it again. Asterisk. SpaceX's new Falcon 9R has been designed so that it can drop its payload and then return to its launch pad and be ready for flight again within just a few hours after refueling. The design team is now counting down the days until the Falcon 9R's very important test flight. Their challenge is to safely land a 300-ton rocket in the right place that was initially built only to go up. For me, the important thing is precise landing. And if you think about it, this rocket was not built to safely enter and fly through the atmosphere. It doesn't have wings. And so we have to find a way for it to fly through the atmosphere and land back exactly where it took off from. And that too without human help. Asterisk. So this is the place where the legs will start. They will be installed here with an air cover, and then landing legs will be installed. Making a rocket reusable is a very big challenge, and we have to make it very strong. We also have to keep in mind that it should not become too heavy, because in the rocket industry, weight is everything. The Falcon 9R will not only have legs installed, but also a complex guidance system that will guide the rocket's angles so precisely that it can land in the right place. Asterisk. What about the leg sensors? For landing, we have to keep in mind that they should be available on time. At what time will they be needed? I think there are many reasons to be nervous. This is a completely new landing system. Now, after more than 2 years of development, the day of the test has arrived. 3, 2, 1. Asterisk. For the first time in the history of rocket engineering. Taking off is easy, but our future on Mars depends on whether the Falcon can land exactly where it took off from. The Falcon 9 rocket is as big as a skyscraper. It is filled with rocket fuel, and we are in the middle of Texas. And I am the one whose finger is on the button that says please come down now, or please stop what you are doing. So, yes, it is scary. Asterisk. There was no problem with this flight. We are very happy about this. This means we can build this rocket and land it exactly in the right place on the launch pad. This means we will now build rockets that we can easily use again and again. The Falcon 9R is just powerful enough to take astronauts to the International Space Station. But SpaceX has started working on an even bigger rocket, which is the Falcon Heavy, a reusable heavy lift rocket. Asterisk. It can send a spacecraft full of astronauts to a parking orbit around Earth and then return for a second round in which it will deliver a tanker with enough fuel that the spacecraft can reach Mars from Earth. From SpaceX's perspective, reusable rockets will not only reduce the cost of a single human mission to Mars, but will also promote establishing settlements on Mars. The thing is that to reach Mars, the best time is when the planets are aligned so that getting there is quite economical. So if we are to establish a settlement on Mars, we should send as many people there as quickly as possible. And we should take off again within a few hours instead of a few years. If we can reduce the cost of reaching Mars to less than $500,000, and hopefully we can reduce it even further in the future, then I think many people will be ready to sell all their belongings on Earth and go to Mars. Asterisk. Reusable. Rockets will soon begin sending astronauts to orbit in greater numbers than ever before, but there is still a big obstacle between them and Mars. Can they endure the long journey there? A new generation of space engineers is building reusable rockets that will revolutionize the way we go to space. Soon they will start sending spacecraft with humans to Mars. But are astronauts strong enough to make this journey? Asterisk. Their capsule, which has no more space than a small car, will have to make a long loop around the solar system, slowly moving out of orbit toward Mars. Even when the planets are well aligned, this journey will take at least 6 months. During that time, astronauts will be hit by dangerous levels of solar radiation. On Earth's surface, we are protected from space radiation by Earth's atmosphere. When you go beyond Earth, you get no protection. Currently, if we send a crew to Mars and bring them back, they will have to endure far more radiation than we allow our astronauts to tolerate. Asterisk. And spending months continuously in zero gravity causes other physical problems. Damage to bones, damage to muscles, and changes in the fluid around the brain can distort the shape of their eyeballs, causing blurred vision. But there is another risk of the long journey to Mars. It could be the biggest danger for any mission. Throughout their journey, astronauts will never step outside their cramped quarters and will never be alone for a moment. Asterisk, okay, so Rachel, I want you to give a nicely learned smile. Very good. Okay, that's enough. At the University of Pennsylvania, Dr. David Dinges studies the effects of long-term confinement on astronauts' mental state. And now you start thinking something bad. He is working on technology to detect behavioral problems before they get out of control. What we are most worried about is depression, serious psychotic reactions, suicidal behavior. Asterisk, we cannot rely on people saying how I feel, because we know that often they don't know how they feel. Many people cannot understand when they are sad and when they are sick. To find out whether it is possible for a handful of people to live together continuously in a cramped space for months, David worked with the Russian space agency. Together, they created a Mars mission that took place entirely in Moscow. Asterisk, Moscow's Institute of Biomedical Problems took a big step by building a spacecraft on the ground with real mission controllers and real people, such as astronauts, engineers, physicians, astronaut trainers from Europe, Russia, and one from China. All 6 people were men who stayed in a chamber for the entire mission to go to Mars and come back. For almost 17 months. Asterisk, well, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Look at this. Christmas, Merry Christmas. 1 year ago, on June 7, 2010, we came into this module, and we did not go out for a year. And we still have to spend 155 days. This was the longest space simulation ever done. For 520 days, these people ate together. Its appearance is not good, but the taste is good, which matters more. They slept together. Look how comfortably he is lying. And they worked. Asterisk, in the Mars 500 modules, we are working, as usual. In a closed room, David monitored their every move. Look at this ActiWatch that the crew member wore, which recorded light and body movement. And it was very important for determining when crew members slept and woke, how long they slept and how well they slept, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week throughout the mission, they kept wearing it. And so, we could get data from more than 4 million minutes. Asterisk, the crew members were not only physically separated from the outside world, mission controllers put a 20-minute delay in all communications with the outside world, even when talking to family members in each one-way conversation so that they would feel as if they were millions of miles away from home. Problems started to arise in what is called the second half of the mission, such as someone having insomnia, depression, or trouble getting enough sleep, or the effects of stress, or feeling tired. Asterisk, if there were disagreements with ground controllers. All these problems persisted and accumulated throughout the rest of the mission, and these problems did not resolve quickly on their own. When the crew returned after a year and a half, 4 of the 6 members showed significant behavioral problems. David took these disturbing results as a challenge. He did not want the first human settlement on Mars to be full of mental patients. He was determined to identify this mental instability earlier so that it could be treated. Asterisk, the main goal is to select the best crew, and to find out that during long missions and isolation, behavioral problems arise in spaceflight and we have to take immediate action. David has built cutting-edge video observation software called optical computer recognition, OCR. It can read human emotions from facial expressions. Optical computer recognition will read positive, negative, and neutral facial expressions and will report this observation done from time to time in these lines. Asterisk, so Chris, why don't we start with your bright smile, and see, when this happens, you immediately know that this is a positive emotion. David hopes that any spacecraft heading to Mars can carry this kind of software. It will monitor astronauts' expressions for months and will immediately sense changes in their mood. If someone smiled 8% during a 3-month period while living on Earth or in the first phase of the mission, and that same person smiled only 2% during a 4-month period, it indicates that emotionally some changes may be occurring in them. Asterisk, to survive on Mars. Being technically advanced and physically fit is not enough. It also requires exceptional mental strength and unprecedented teamwork. Actually, the crew will have to work as a team. They will have to avoid unnecessary issues. They cannot stop talking to each other by dividing into different groups. They will have to maintain a social structure that is positive. Asterisk, this is a more difficult mission than the difficulties we have faced in the past. After spending 6 months in the depths of space, the first crew of astronauts reaches Mars. They are traveling at a speed of 6 kilometers per second. Their next challenge related to reaching Mars is coming very fast. They have to land there safely. Asterisk, in the last 40 years, Mars has been an example of failed landings. Of the 12 unmanned probes that entered Mars' atmosphere, 5 have fallen and burned. Landing things on Mars is very difficult. You have a spacecraft that weighs several tons and is going at a speed of 6 kilometers per second with full energy. So you have to reduce all that kinetic energy. Otherwise, your spacecraft will crash into some volcano and create a big hole in the ground. Asterisk, Earth's atmosphere slows down a rapidly approaching spacecraft to a speed of 320 kilometers per hour. But Mars' atmosphere is 100 times thinner than that. There is only one way to slow down there: to use a very huge parachute. So we are looking at this long sleeve. We need it this long so that millions JPL engineers Ian Clark and Mike Meacham's job is to prevent crash landings on Mars. Asterisk. Any manned spacecraft will weigh about 40 tons. For such heavy weight, they will need a completely new type of parachute. A year ago, we landed a one-ton rover on the surface of Mars. The Curiosity rover, and all the technology we had developed over the past 4 decades was used to build it. And now we have reached its maximum level. Asterisk. The parachute we are testing is designed to lift about 45,000 kilograms, and this is commendable, especially because the parachute alone weighs 90 kilograms. That means it is extremely light. It is made of things you make your camping tent with, mainly nylon with some Kevlar like we make bulletproof jackets with, and this sleeve from behind here comes out from that small pulley, and then it goes out through the entire structure, which we call pipe guides. Asterisk. Mike is considered the stubborn scientist of the team. His job is to figure out how to build and test parachutes that won't tear apart even at supersonic speeds. The parachute we are going to test is so big that no existing wind tunnel can hold it. It's not that big. So we started considering every possible means by which we could test a parachute for landing on Mars. And we are trying everything possible. Asterisk. What they then thought of doing includes a Nighthawk military helicopter for Mark 70 missile rocket engines, a 4,000-foot-long rope, and a support crew of 30 people. First, the helicopter lifts the 90-kilogram parachute with a long rope hanging behind it. Then, at an altitude of 4,100 feet, the helicopter releases the parachute, and the parachute opens. At the end of the rope is a piece of hardware called a bullet that has to fall into the big funnel at the end of that rocket-powered sled. So after adding about 225,000 kilograms of steel to this structure, this big steel pulley was made, and actually, this is what works. To be able to lift this weight, we poured 1 million kilograms of concrete on the ground. Yes, so these strong poles you are seeing that are connected with bolts are actually buried 18 feet inside the ground. As soon as the bullet falls into that funnel, it fires the rocket sled and creates the supersonic speed that the parachute will withstand on Mars. First is the outer rocket. This is our first sled, which means keeping this big sled weighing 45,000 kilograms running. And as soon as we reach that speed, we will fire the 2 inner rockets. Ian and Mike have done this test once before with a prototype parachute to check the mechanics. The parachute didn't hold, but it didn't need to. It was just a proof of concept for the system. Only one thing went wrong during that test, and that was the parachute failed at one seam joint. But as far as the structure was concerned, it was built very well. Because of this, in some ways, we are a bit nervous about the next test. We hope it will be successful this time. We have already raised expectations too high. Yes, you are right. For Ian and Mike, a lot is at stake. Our ability to send humans to Mars depends on the success of this test. This is a very large and complex operation that costs billions of dollars. One more thing, there is no other option. They have only one parachute. One thing is certain, I won't be able to sleep tonight. Tomorrow, we have to get to work at 3 in the morning, and I am a bit nervous because there are many different things that need to be brought together. Despite the biting cold and getting up early in the morning, the team is working hard too. Be ready in just a few hours. Electricity is running through the body. There are many things to do, so everything must be remembered. It must be done according to the list. One thing they cannot prepare for in advance is the weather. It is necessary that they start the test when the wind is completely calm, which is expected to be at 7 in the morning. If the wind blows hard, then when the helicopter releases the parachute starts to open, the strong wind will blow it away, and it will affect our ability to pull it back to the ground, due to which we will not be able to do this test safely. Ian keeps an eye on the parachute, and Mike checks the rope attached to it, which is about 10,220 meters long. The rope is going up through these few pulleys, down to the bottom and coming out from here. So I was looking to see if it was worn or damaged anywhere, but I didn't see anything like that. So I think we can start. Compared to that, I am a bit too carefree. But the time is approaching, so I am a bit nervous. I am also a bit excited. In this whole operation, this entire infrastructure, all the things we have been preparing for the past year, all are connected to whether this parachute is strong enough to withstand the aerodynamic weight that is necessary to work on Mars. We all hope we will succeed. The helicopter arrives on time and signals to start the test. Ready for test? It has caught. The rope is going up. It will take the helicopter quite some time to reach an altitude of about 1,250 meters. It has reached the top. It's time. 3, 2, 1. Release. Release. It has released. It's done. On a naval test facility in Mississippi, NASA engineers Ian and his team are very close to knowing whether we have the technology to land humans on Mars. Will their parachute withstand the pressure necessary to slow down a spacecraft moving at supersonic speed? It has released. Released? It went back. Oh, it's opening. Wow, what a beautiful way it opened. It looks very lovely. I wish it would stay open like this. Now that the parachute is facing strong winds, every moment has become crucial. If the wind takes it away from its place, the bullet will not fall into that funnel, and the rocket sled will not start, causing the entire test to fail. We are getting close. The wind is getting quite strong. That bullet is in a very strange direction. Come on, come on. It opened well. The bullet hit the ground. Come quickly. Something is wrong. It didn't work properly. Let go. Let go. Oh no. What happened? Oh, it went wrong. Good try. The bullet hit the ground. What happened? The wind was a bit strong, so it went up, meaning the wind cannot stop it after a certain time. For the team, this was a very disappointing failure. It will take weeks to repack the parachute and months to coordinate the place and helicopter together again, so they won't be able to try for at least another year. Good try! Thank you. This is bound to happen in the development of technology. You always keep trying to do new things, to find new solutions. Sometimes these new things work, sometimes they don't, but you should learn from them. In embracing failure, it is necessary to move forward. Predicting weather on Earth is not as difficult as it is on Mars. Even if astronauts land there successfully, they will face a very harsh environment. The average temperature on Mars is always around -20 degrees Celsius. Its atmosphere, which is mostly made of unbreathable carbon dioxide, is 100 times lighter than Earth. Body liquids like saliva and tears will start boiling as soon as they come into this atmosphere. No astronaut can survive outside, even for a second, without wearing a spacesuit. But to build a settlement on Mars, we need a spacesuit that doesn't reduce astronauts' agility. How does it feel? It feels very good. I feel it is very comfortable to sit and stand. But it is a bit tight here near the shoulder. Aerospace engineer and MIT professor Dava Newman and her team of students are building a revolutionary new space suit called the biosuit. This is the T design. You can try wearing it. Apollo wire spacesuits were very heavy, making even the smallest tasks difficult. Due to the moon's weak gravity, that 90-kilogram suit felt as light as 30.5 kilograms. Mars' gravity is weaker than Earth's, but it won't be easy to face. The moon's gravity is 1/6, while Mars is 3/8. So if you are in 3/8 gravity, you need a light suit and a light system that is not easy to move around in. In current spacesuits, there is pressurized air filled around the astronaut, due to which most of their strength is spent just managing that heavy, inflated suit. But Dava is building a completely different spacesuit that will stick to the body. The only way to keep an astronaut alive is to create pressure directly on the skin. This idea might seem a bit strange to you. You can shrink and tie the astronaut. This is technically possible. To make a Spider-Man-like suit, we took the help of mathematics. Its black lines are like an external soft skeleton. It has to do with structure only. So when they walk, this suit will not stretch at all. A light, firm-fitting suit will help astronauts move around on Mars. But for some tasks, like lifting large rocks from a construction site, more effort will be needed. Brad Holshoe is trying to put muscle strength directly into the body. He is using a cutting-edge material called shape memory alloy. We have this shape memory alloy spring here. It is a metal mixed with a little nickel and a little titanium, and it has a unique feature. You can teach it to remember any special shape. They need a little heat to mold into that shape. And so we will set fire to this load cell and see what kind of force it produces. Great. Look. It has already started pulling. Yes, wow. It is actually shrinking. It is giving very good results. You can see it is contracting like human muscles. So you can take many such springs and place them equally. And when you place them equally, you suddenly get a muscle that you can work with. As soon as astronauts wear spacesuits, they work at a very slow pace, with biosuits that work like muscles in Mars' low gravity. Those building settlements will be able to build an extraterrestrial base faster than Earth's atmosphere. If I want to stay in this position for a long time, anyone will get tired, even on this Earth's surface. So you would want to add a little stiffness through these lines. Exactly like that external soft skeleton idea in which my body's weight will be reduced a bit. There will be no pressure on my muscles, which will reduce my fatigue a bit. But to build a permanent civilization on Mars, just taking technology from Earth is not enough. To thrive there, we will have to go there and find and use Mars' natural resources. I have to go and find places where I can work. So if you have to find me, worry about me if I don't come back in 20 minutes. Okay. If Lewis and Clark tried to cross the American continent with all the food, water, and air they brought with them, they had carefully brought it for 3 years of intercontinental travel for themselves and their horses. They would not have been able to cross the continent. They were able to do this because they were using resources present in the environment there. We will also have to make do with the resources available on Mars. Learning how to survive on a barren Icy planet is the purpose of this adventure that is taking place in the remote wilderness of the Utah desert. This attempt to reach Mars and survive in its very difficult environment will take our technology and human endurance to new heights. When we went to the moon, NASA had gradually tested its capabilities. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin spent only a few hours on the moon. Then from Apollo 17, astronauts spent more than 3 days there. But to go to Mars, we cannot take such small steps. As soon as Earth and Mars are properly aligned, we will have to get there just by rocket power. As soon as the crew lands there, they will have to wait for 1.5 years to come back until Earth and Mars are aligned once again. We cannot carry enough food and water to stay for such a long time. We will have to make do with the resources available on the barren and icy planet. Is this possible? To find out. A team of 7 scientists, engineers, and students from around the world is living in a temporary base in the Utah desert called the Mars Desert Research Station. Good morning. Did everyone have their morning tea today? Everyone slept well last night, right? Okay. So Susan, how does the medical Eva look today? It looks very good. I think I have chosen the people I want to take with me. There will be a complete inspection. There we are going to do an inspection from head to toe, but the challenge will be wearing spacesuits. The Mars Society, of which I am the head, has practiced Mars missions. One is in the Arctic, the other in the American desert, where we send teams for different periods of time, mostly for 2 weeks, but sometimes for 4 months. Now we want to send them for a year, and we ask them to do a program to understand that area well, as if they are working on Mars. This is that small, lovely house for those 18 months. Team members eat, sleep, and work in this cramped space of 1,300 square feet with only select essential items. Our diet is special. Everything is dehydrated, so wisdom is necessary in cooking because this is a 2-week mission. Team members use water very economically. Taking a bath is out of the question. We really want to feel this. Want to live as if we are living on Mars so that one day we can build this model for ourselves so that we can actually live on Mars. No one can go outside without wearing a spacesuit. Okay. And if someone gets sick or injured on Mars, they cannot go back for treatment. Complex medical procedures will be guided by experts from Earth with a 20-minute delay. So where is this? So this is it, isn't it? Space enthusiasts may find all this like a drama, but there is an important purpose behind this simulation. They are developing that important technology that we need to survive on Mars. They are obtaining water from this desert-like place. Mars actually looks very dry and barren. But the most amazing thing is that we have found water there, which is an important means for humans to survive there. Aeronautical engineer, Viba Shrivastava, is going to collect soil samples in the Utah desert that are remarkably similar to Martian soil. This soil has a very high iron content, just like the soil on the surface of Mars. Apart from being at the poles, there is no ice on the surface of Mars, but there is water that is present in the mineral elements of the soil. Viba faces the challenge of extracting the water. Actually, I have to find out if there is any trapped water under the surface layer. It seems the sun has almost set, and now we have to pack everything up and go back quickly. Okay, my work is done. Otherwise we will get lost in the dark. Back in the hab. Viba starts the process of separating water from the soil. I have collected about 500 grams of samples. And now we will put this in our device and see how much water this device can squeeze out of it. She heats the soil in a sealed cooker. An air blower will send the water vapor toward the steel tube, where the vapor will cool and, with luck, turn into water. Look at this. We have got this much water from that sample, and this is a good thing because this experiment worked. This water may not be drinkable right now, but we have to do some more tests because there is a possibility that this water may also contain salt or other liquids. Viba's experiment proves that making water on Mars is possible. Extracting water in this way on Mars will allow astronauts to grow crops in greenhouses, which will create long-term work opportunities on this red planet. All the necessary resources to live on Mars are available, and therefore technological civilization is also present. And if we can go to Mars in our time and take that first small step, place that first small rock on Mars, then perhaps 500 years from now, we will see a completely new branch of human civilization there. Perhaps many branches. But these first colonists will face one more challenge, and this will be the most difficult of all challenges. Their journey to Mars may be one way. The difficulty of a Mars mission is the fuel and supplies needed to come back. For every 1 kilogram of fuel to reach Mars, you have to send 15, 20, or 30 kilograms of propellant from Earth just to get that propellant to Mars so that it can bring you back. If we have not reached Mars today, this is the biggest reason. The technology that would make the return journey possible will take many more years to develop. If you don't have to come back, it becomes even easier, and suddenly the whole mission becomes possible. But now, you need people who are ready to spend the rest of their lives in a small closed cabin in an environment where they will die in 3 seconds if they go outside. Believe it or not, People are registering their names to do this, and an entrepreneur claims he can get people there faster than anyone else. Asterisk, there are many reasons why I want to go to Mars. We are close to acquiring technology that will enable us to reach Mars and start building a human settlement there. But NASA and SpaceX's plan to get humans to Mars will take at least 2 decades because they still have not found the answer to one puzzle: bringing people back from their BAS, who is the founder of a space exploration corporation called Mars One, is planning to take people to Mars soon. But how? Actually, he will not give people the option of a return journey. Mars One is conducting a mission for permanent settlement, a one-way journey only, because only a one-way journey will make this possible. Bus had figured out that to build human settlements on Mars in his lifetime, he would have to bypass the problems related to the return journey from their asterisk. There is no better way than a deal like permanently sending humans there very soon in the future, because there is a lot of complexity in the mission for the return journey. Even if there is a rocket on Mars for the return journey, he runs a mission for those permanently staying there, because if you settle on Mars, it would really be a milestone for the human world. Asterisk, Mars One is building a one-way journey spacecraft with Lockheed Martin. But there is an even bigger challenge. Who would be such a daredevil who would willingly spend the rest of their life in a very cramped place on a toxic planet in space? I want to go to Mars because I don't know for how long this has been my dream. I have studied a lot in both science and engineering. Asterisk, why do I want to go to Mars? Because I like jokes. I promise I will be the funniest girl on Mars. Yes, if you have invited some top comedian there, then I will be number 2. I want to dance there. I play volleyball. I scuba dive. I'll just live life to the fullest. We are looking for people who have a good mentality, and obviously they should be in good health. They should be smart, because we will teach them many new skills. Bus is planning to raise money for this trip by selling broadcasting rights to a reality show based on scenes filmed on Mars. They have already received applications from about 200,000 people, and they are engaged in selecting 24 finalists from them. Mimi McNick has just been selected as a So you live in Los Angeles. What do you do? I have just graduated from the California Institute of the Arts. Asterisk. Do you stay in touch with your family? Oh yes, of course. I talk to my mom almost every day, every other day to my dad, and I don't have any siblings. It's just the 2 of them. Okay, what if you never see them again? Asterisk, Mars One's astronauts will train for 10 years in teams of 4 before going to Mars. A few years after building the base on Mars, the next team will come to join them. There will be a lot of work at the construction site in the first few years, especially in the first few months, like connecting modules to each other, installing solar panels, setting up greenhouse equipment. There will be very limited water on Mars, so you may not get to bathe for a few years. You will have to grow your own food. Most of your time will be spent doing that. Does thinking about all this scare you? Because it is part of the experience. Because at every step you will get a new experience there. You will learn something new. You will be the first person to go to Mars. Whatever we do will be new. Exciting. Asterisk, many people are very surprised to learn that some people are interested in settling on Mars permanently. That is, going on a one-way trip. But you should not forget that this has happened in our planet's history as well. We started from one place and spread throughout the world. Don't you think leaving everything behind is madness? No, I don't think so. Because, as I said, doing such strange things is very necessary to take the world forward. Asterisk, for centuries. We have called such dreamers crazy until they have achieved something. Then we call them heroes. Perhaps 100 years from now, we will call them the founders of a thriving human settlement on Mars. Many people sacrificed their lives trying to build America, knowing that in most cases, the chances of dying were higher than if they had stayed at home. It is actually the call of the times. I mean, this time will always be remembered because it will be the first time we take a step toward another world. And I am sure we will. Asterisk, we face many risks and technology-related obstacles, but nothing will stop us from going to Mars. Mars is our destiny because our great achievements are not behind us. They are always one step ahead. The person who will take the first step on Mars is alive today. Is it your brother? Or is it your cousin? Or is it you, yourself? Asterisk, the challenges that lie ahead of us in making Mars our second home are immense. Yet humanity has always risen to meet seemingly impossible challenges throughout history. From the moment our ancestors first looked up at the night sky and wondered what lay beyond, we have been driven by an insatiable curiosity to explore, to discover, to push the boundaries of what is possible. Mars represents the next great frontier in this eternal human quest. Asterisk, the technological innovations required for a successful Mars mission extend far beyond rockets and spacecraft. We need to develop completely new systems for life support, food production, water recycling, and energy generation that can function reliably for years in one of the most hostile environments imaginable. The thin Martian atmosphere, composed of 95% carbon dioxide, offers no protection from the harmful radiation that constantly bombards the surface. Temperatures can swing wildly from a relatively balmy 70 degrees Fahrenheit at the equator during summer days to minus 225 degrees Fahrenheit at the poles during winter. Scientists and engineers around the world are working on solutions to these challenges. At NASA's Kennedy Space Center, researchers are developing advanced life support systems that can recycle nearly 100% of the water and oxygen needed by astronauts. These closed-loop systems are essential because resupply missions from Earth would be prohibitively expensive and could only occur once every 2 years when the orbital mechanics are favorable. The International Space Station has already demonstrated that we can recycle water and generate oxygen in space, but the systems need to be far more reliable and efficient for a Mars mission where help from Earth is months away. Food production on Mars presents another significant challenge. While we can bring freeze-dried and preserved food for the initial missions, a permanent settlement will need to grow its own food. NASA has been conducting experiments with growing plants in space for years, and the results are promising. Lettuce, radishes, and other vegetables have been successfully grown aboard the International Space Station. However, Mars' lower gravity, reduced sunlight, and lack of soil nutrients mean that Martian greenhouses will need to be specially designed with artificial lighting, hydroponics or aeroponics systems, and carefully controlled environments. The psychological aspects of a Mars mission cannot be understated. The isolation study conducted in Moscow revealed troubling patterns of depression, sleep disorders, and interpersonal conflicts that developed over the 17-month simulation. Real Mars missions will face even greater challenges because the crew will know they are truly isolated in a way that the Moscow participants were not. There will be no emergency extraction, no ability to step outside and breathe fresh air, no quick trip home if things go wrong. The 20-minute communication delay with UFME is that astronauts will essentially be on their own for problem-solving and decision-making. Dr. David Dinigas and other behavioral health experts are developing comprehensive psychological support systems for Mars missions. These include not only the facial recognition software that can detect early signs of depression or stress, but also virtual reality systems that can provide mental breaks from the monotony of the spacecraft or habitat, regular video conferences with family and mental health professionals on Earth, and careful crew selection processes that identify individuals with the psychological resilience to handle extended isolation and stress. The selection of the first Mars crew will be one of the most important decisions in human history. These individuals will need to possess an extraordinary combination of technical skills, physical fitness, psychological stability, and interpersonal abilities. They will need to be experts in multiple fields because they cannot rely on specialists back on Earth for immediate help. A mechanical problem might require both engineering expertise and physical strength to repair. A medical emergency might require someone with both surgical skills and the emotional stability to operate on a crewmate in a crisis situation. Mars One's approach of selecting crew members from the general public through a reality television format has been controversial. Critics argue that proper astronaut selection requires years of rigorous evaluation and training, not a popularity contest. However, Buzz Lansdorp counters that the traditional astronaut selection process was designed for short-duration missions, where crew members could be quickly evacuated if problems arose. A permanent Mars settlement requires a different kind of pioneer people who are willing to commit their entire lives to building something new, even if it means never returning to Earth. The first Mars settlers will face dangers that go beyond the obvious physical threats. The confined living spaces, limited resources, and inability to leave will create social dynamics unlike anything humanity has experienced before. Earth's history is filled with examples of isolated communities, from Antarctic research stations to remote island populations that have struggled with interpersonal conflicts, power struggles, and social breakdown. Mars colonists will need to develop new social structures and governance systems that can maintain harmony and productivity over decades or even centuries. One proposed solution is to ensure that the Mars colony grows steadily over time, with new arrivals every 2 years adding fresh perspectives and skills to the community. This would prevent the colony from becoming too insular and would provide opportunities for social renewal. However, it also means that the early colonists will need to be adaptable and welcoming to newcomers, even as they develop their own unique Martian culture. The question of children on Mars raises profound ethical and practical issues. Should the first generation of Mars colonists be allowed or encouraged to have children? How would pregnancy and childbirth be managed in the lower Martian gravity, which is only 38% of Earth's? What would be the long-term effects of growing up in reduced gravity on child development? These questions remain largely unanswered, but they will need to be addressed before Mars can truly become humanity's second home, rather than just an outpost. The economic model for Mars colonization is another area of intense debate. Mars One's plan to fund the mission through reality television and sponsorships has been met with skepticism from many in the space industry who question whether entertainment revenue alone can sustain a multi-dollar space program. SpaceX's Elon Musk has suggested that the cost of a Mars ticket could eventually be reduced to around $500,000, making it accessible to anyone willing to sell their possessions and start fresh on a new world. However, this assumes that reusable rockets can achieve the dramatic cost reductions that Musk envisions. Other economic models have been proposed, including mining Mars for valuable resources that could be sold on Earth, developing Mars as a tourist destination for wealthy adventurers, or establishing Mars as a research center, where scientists from around the world could conduct experiments impossible on Earth. Some visionaries even imagine Mars eventually becoming economically independent from Earth, developing its own industries, currency, and trade relationships. The legal and political frameworks for Mars colonization are virtually none. The Outer Space Treaty of 1967, which forms the basis of international space law, prohibits nations from claiming sovereignty over celestial bodies. However, it says nothing about private property rights, resource extraction, or governance of settlements. Who will make the laws on Mars? Who will enforce them? What happens if colonists from different nations or companies have disputes? These questions will need to be answered as Mars colonization transitions from science fiction to reality. Some experts propose that Mars should be governed as an international territory, similar to Antarctica, with research and settlement activities coordinated through a global body like the United Nations. Others argue that Mars colonies should be allowed to develop their own systems of government, potentially creating new forms of democracy or social organization freed from Earth's historical baggage. The political philosopher Robert Zubrin has suggested that Mars could become a frontier society that revitalizes human civilization, much as the American West did in the 19th century. The environmental ethics of Mars colonization also deserve consideration. Should we terraform Mars, deliberately altering its atmosphere and climate to make it more Earth-like even, though this would destroy any native Martian life that might exist? Or should we preserve Mars in its natural state, limiting human presence to sealed habitats that don't contaminate the Martian environment? These questions become even more urgent if we discover evidence of past or present life on Mars, whether fossilized microbes in ancient lakebeds or surviving organisms deep underground. The search for life on Mars has been one of the primary drivers of Mars exploration for decades. Every mission to Mars has included some component focused on astrobiology, the study of life in the universe. The Viking landers in the 1970s conducted experiments looking for signs of biological activity in Martian soil. More recently, the Curiosity and Perseverance rovers have been exploring ancient river deltas and lakebeds where conditions might once have been suitable for life. The discovery of life on Mars, even simple microbial life, would be one of the most profound scientific discoveries in human history. It would answer the age-old question of whether life exists elsewhere in the universe and would provide insights into how life begins and evolves. However, it would also complicate plans for human colonization. If Mars harbors its own ecosystem, do we have the right to displace or contaminate it with Earth life? This ethical dilemma mirrors debates about protecting Earth's own endangered species and pristine environments. The technology development required for Mars missions is already producing benefits here on Earth. Life support systems developed for space have applications in sustainable living on Earth. Water recycling technologies pioneered for the International Space Station are being adapted for use in water-scarce regions. The lightweight, strong materials developed for spacecraft are finding their way into consumer products. Medical monitoring systems designed to keep astronauts healthy are improving healthcare delivery in remote areas. This pattern of space technology spinning off into terrestrial applications has been a hallmark of the space program since its beginning. The inspirational value of Mars exploration should not be underestimated. The Apollo program inspired an entire generation to pursue careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. A successful Mars program could have similar effects, encouraging young people around the world to push the boundaries of human knowledge and capability. The image of humans living and working on another planet would be a powerful symbol of human achievement and potential, demonstrating that we are not forever bound to our home world. However, critics of Mars colonization argue that the enormous resources required would be better spent solving problems on Earth. Climate change, poverty, disease, and conflict affect billions of people today. Shouldn't we focus on making Earth sustainable before trying to colonize another planet? Mars advocates respond that the two goals are not mutually exclusive, but developing the technology to live sustainably on Mars will help us live more sustainably on Earth, and that having a backup location for human civilization provides insurance against existential threats like asteroid impacts or nuclear war. The timeline for human Mars missions remains uncertain. NASA's current plans call for landing humans on Mars sometime in the 2030s or 2040s. though these timelines have been repeatedly pushed back over the decades. SpaceX's Elon Musk has set more ambitious goals, talking about landing cargo missions by the mid-2020s and humans shortly thereafter. However, many experts believe these timelines are overly optimistic, given the technological, financial, and political challenges that remain. Regardless of the exact timeline, the direction is clear. Humanity is going to Mars. The only questions are when, who, and how. Multiple nations, including the United States, China, the United Arab Emirates, and India, have active Mars programs. Private companies like Blue Origin and others are developing the rockets and spacecraft needed to reach Mars. The international space community is gradually building the knowledge base and technology required to keep humans alive and productive on the red planet. The first person to set foot on Mars has likely already been born. They might be a child today, looking up at the night sky and dreaming of adventure among the stars. Or they might be a young adult, training in engineering or piloting or medicine, preparing themselves for the greatest journey in human history. Whoever they are, they will become one of the most famous people who ever lived, joining Neil Armstrong, Yuri Gagarin, and other pioneers who first ventured beyond Earth. But the Mars story is not just about the first person to arrive. It is about the thousands and eventually millions of people who will follow, each contributing their own skills and dreams to building a new branch of human civilization. About families who will choose to make Mars their home, children who will grow up knowing Mars as the only world they have ever known. It is about the artists who will find inspiration in alien sunsets, the scientists who will make discoveries impossible on Earth, the entrepreneurs who will build new industries on a new world. Mars will change us. Living in an environment so different from Earth will inevitably shape human culture, society, and perhaps even our biology in new ways. Future Martians might develop their own dialects, traditions, and identity distinct from Earth. They will face challenges we cannot imagine and develop solutions we have not conceived. In a very real sense, going to Mars is about creating a new chapter in human evolution, one where we become a truly multiplanetary species. The journey to Mars represents humanity at its best: our curiosity, our courage, our ingenuity, and our determination to overcome any obstacle. It reminds us that we are capable of achieving extraordinary things when we work together toward a common goal. Whether the first Mars settlers arrive in 10 years or 50, whether they are government astronauts or private pioneers, they will carry with them the hopes and dreams of all humanity. Mars is waiting. That cold, distant, rust-colored world that has fascinated humans for thousands of years is about to welcome its first permanent residents. The age of Mars exploration is ending. The age of Mars colonization is about to begin, and while the challenges ahead are immense, human history teaches us that we are capable of achieving the impossible when we dare to try. The red planet beckons. Our destiny among the stars awaits. The future of humanity extends beyond Earth, and Mars is the first step on that incredible journey. We stand on the threshold of becoming an interplanetary civilization, and the decisions we make today will echo through the centuries to come. Mars is ours not to conquer, but to settle, to study, to cherish, and to call home. The adventure is just beginning.